Hey, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Chris. We're the hosts of True Believers, a comic book podcast, our weekly show about all things comics.
Welcome to episode 35 of True Believers. Last week we took it back to the early 2000s with the classic Elektra. This week we're coming at you with Sleepless by Sarah Vaughn and Lila Del
Leila
Duca.
Del Duca.
Leila Del Duca. Jesus.
I don't
It's
mind
just
helping
I
you out,
don't
buddy.
bro, it is late. We are doing this hella late.
It's fine. It's fine. So, Lady Poppy, aka Papenia, is guarded by the sleepless knight Cyrenik, but becomes endangered when an assassin threatens her life in the new king's reign. As Poppy and Cyrenik try to discover who wants her dead, they must navigate the dangerous waters of life at court and of their growing feelings for one another.
Ooh, juicy.
Andrew, Sleepless, how'd you feel?
Sleepless, I think it was a good story. It wasn't one that I'm particularly interested in, but I think this was a very good story that had it had like a little bit of everything. It had a little bit of romance, had a little bit of action, had a little bit of mystery,
It
Everybody
was giving
was
fantasy because they had magic.
it had magic, it was medieval. This was like definitely a very good story. I just really don't care for medieval things.
And one
So
thing that I think is crazy is that when you look at this, it was not drawn like the people who are behind it are not black, but this is the most like realistically drawn black person that I've ever seen, not drawn by a black person.
I agree. It had
It
just say
checked
it.
all the boxes. It represented many groups. It was giving what it was supposed to have gave. That's the best way to describe.
It did. It was drawn very well. She had the big curly hair, the
She wore
big
that bonnet.
lips. Yeah,
She
right
had
in
a
the
wide
medieval
nose, like
times.
she had the nose of my ancestors. So I was like, period.
Yeah, it was very good. The art was very good. The writing was very good. It just didn't match my, you know what I mean?
It just didn't match your interest. But like what I
No.
really liked about it was that it was a contained story. Like they had two volumes. It was 11 issues. They were like, this is what we're making. We have a clear
Mhm.
point A to point Z.
Zed. Ugh. It
I just
did.
said
It
that to
did though.
irritate you.
It had the start. It had a middle. It had a finish, and they knew what they were doing every step of the way. And it was very. It was laid out very well. They knew what they were doing with this story, and they did exactly that.
Even the cliffhanger between volumes one and two was so good because the premise is that like this girl, well, Papenya, she's a woman, but she is the daughter of the late king. So her father has just died, and her uncle, because she's illegitimate in the eyes of her father's kingdom, she can't inherit the throne, and she's never been in the line of succession. So her uncle inherits the throne, and her because she there was an assassination attempt against her the year before. She has this guy named Cyrenik who's always with her, and he's the sleepless knight. So he's been put under a magic spell by his own oath and hers. So he just never sleeps. He like protects her all the time. He literally never sleeps. What pissed me off was finding out that he had a bed, like a bed to do what?
Yeah, same. Because I was like, what are you doing with that?
What do you
Because
have room for?
it's not like he's not even allowed to sleep with other people or anything like that. Like, what is this bed for? It's just there. But I do like how this story created its own universe, and it created a very well established universe because it had other kingdoms. It had like this kingdom has these rules, this kingdom does this. You know what I mean?
This place is allied with this place. The king's daughter lived in this place.
Yeah,
She
so
has
much work
guards
went
in
into
this
this.
place.
Yeah, and the guards had their own like code that they had to follow, and there's different levels of guards too. Like, this is a very well established background, the kingdom,
This is it
everything.
feels like we're in the middle of a story rather than like at the beginning of one, which I think is cool because even in the first issue, like she's kissing her father's like stone, her his grave
Hmm.
stone.
Hmm.
And she's like,
Yeah,
oh, my dad's dead. And I'm like, what? We missed that. Your dad's dead. And then at one point she meets her dad's wife. And then I'm like, that's gonna be awkward. But it wasn't because this woman was like, oh my God, Poppy, come with me.
Poppy.
She's like, I wish your mother was here. And I'm like, what? Child, they doing something different in this kingdom.
I I know. I At first I was like, why is the mom in a different kingdom? Like, what is, or at least the wife? Why
Her
is she in a
mom's a
different
famous
kingdom?
astrologer.
Yeah, and also I looked up like the background of it, and she's called Poppy because of opium and the whole sleepless
Yeah.
metaphor. But I thought
No,
it was really
I didn't get
clever.
that either until when Cyrenik started drifting and he
Mhm.
was in the field of poppies. I was like, you've never seen The Wiz, have you?
No, I never saw that.
Okay, so there's this big part. You know how in The Wizard of Oz, she falls asleep in the poppy fields, and it
Hmm.
represents like temptation, like her desire to like be stagnant and like to give up. In The Wiz, which I had just watched with Georgie before I started rereading Sleepless because I read it before. There's this scene where they have these poppy girls. It's a cat house, so it's like they fill them up with sparkles and smoke, and they kind of get them just tired, and they just go to sleep.
That is
That's such a
that
weird
sounds
description of like why I was like I made the connection, but I was like, oh.
that sounds like it's really sad.
Oh
But
no, in The Wiz, it's fire. They got this banging. This is a Motown musical, okay? They got this banging scene, and it is sad because they're like, oh, the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, they're not organic, so they don't get affected like the Lion and Dorothy. And they're like, oh my God, our friends, they're dead.
shit.
And they're like, no, they're just sleeping. And the Tin Man starts to cry. He's like, a teeny, a teeny. And Diana
Oh,
Ross looks so pretty, like when she's faking sleep.
I know. I keep saying I'm gonna watch that, and eventually I will get around to it. But no, I can see how you made the
Child,
connection. You've already done. It makes sense.
it's
I
just the
see.
fact that he would be like he like was standing there in the middle of this hallway, and then she's like, Sarah Nichols wrong, and he's like, girl, I was drifting. And his drifts were wild. He was Tokyo drifting.
The worst part, though, about being one of these sleepless guards is they still get tired after a while. So it's like, can you imagine being tired and never sleeping?
Yeah, you basically never sleep, and then it's like after what, like they said, like 15 years of service, like eventually your mind just goes, and then they take care of you for the rest of your life, but you have like no awareness.
You're literally
So
like
at
a
the end,
zombie.
yeah, at the end of volume 1, he's like, I'm drifting. Like, you need to let me take care of this before something happens to you. Like, I don't care if they put me to death. I'm gonna die anyway. I'm drifting. And she's like, no, Cyrenik, they'll kill you. They'll kill you. And she's in love with him. And so he grabs her and he kisses her. And when I tell you this kiss, it was like the amount of passion that's in the kiss in Top Gun. When I tell you, I was like, dang, he's really going for it. Okay, sir. And then she's like pulls herself back. And then I think he thought the matter was settled. And she said, Cyrenik, I release you from your sleepless vow. And he was like, he looking at her like, you raggedy sleep.
Yeah, it was the magic words that makes him finally get out of the sleepless. But like, that is insane. Also, this was just a drawing, mind you. So to draw like that much passion and whatever,
Especially for her next move to be that, it was like such a stark change
it's like a fucking novella. There was so
circumstances.
much drama in like these. What is it? 1 to 2 pages.
Yeah, if it was a novella, there would have been a slap. She would have slapped him after, and then she would have
Why would you
released him.
kiss? Yeah. But the whole time up in like she's had what 2 assassinations on her life at this 3 if you count the one that we don't see, and Cyrenik is trying to figure it out. They kind of think it's
Because at one point somebody did try and
somebody.
poison her. I think she
Yeah,
might be at 4.
I think you're right because I know that there was the black guard guy thing that attacked her in the hallway, and then there was another attack, and then there was the poison, and then there's the one that happened before the story started. So that's like 4 assassinations. And they who do they think it is? I can't remember what his name is. It's like the do they know by the end of volume 1 or am
That
I
hoe
just
with the bangs, like, because remember she's accused him of like she goes in front of the king and she's Helder, I think that's his name.
Helder? That's his name. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She's like, he did it. I don't know how to prove it, but he did it. And the king, her uncle, is like a sucker, and he's like, how dare you accuse my nephew by law? Like, in fact, I think you guys should get married. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense, dumb white man, because if I think he's tried to murder me, why? Like, he realizes that he needs Papenya to keep the people under his thumb, like, because people don't like him as much as they love their late king, and the people don't
Fair.
know his daughter, they don't love her, but Poppy is beloved. So he's
It's
like,
trying
I
to
need her social influence.
yeah, it's trying to keep the peace with all the kingdom and whatever. Yeah. But I think one of the assassins tells is it Cyrenik or Poppy?
It's
She's
both of
like,
them, because
oh,
Poppy picks up that
oh,
sword and she's
okay.
like, who sent you?
That's what it was, yeah. And then she's like, oh, Hilder did, yeah. Then
She's
it
like, the
ends.
Helder sent you? And he's like, yeah, he totally did.
Damn. Also, though, if I was dying like that, I probably would have just said whatever, just to like, bro, let me die.
Child, if I'm dying and I'm already dying and you can't torture me and I'm dying, the way I'm not saying nothing, I'd be like,
I think I would just lie just to stir the pot a little
keep it
bit in the
spicy.
kingdom,
Yeah.
Let's see what's gonna happen.
I'm glad you're just as messy as me because that absolutely would have been what I did. I would have been like, yeah, actually it was Sir Cyrenac.
Oh my god, right? I would have
Long
blamed the
live the
king.
king.
Yes. Or oh my god, how messy would it have been to being like the queen or the late
The
father's
princess.
wife's
Ooh.
handmaid? Are you kidding? Like that would have thrown a whole bunch of like drama into the kingdom. It would have been
Especially
amazing.
because that woman had just left. Like she went to the
Right.
dowager estate. Like, but she unfortunately she actually loved Poppy. So
Yeah, that would have been fucked up, but it would have been messy. This guy that was dying had no connection to anybody. He could have said whatever he
child,
wanted.
no, if it was me, I would have said, long live the king. I would have been given Lion King. Because I'm a slut for drama. I long live I'm saying it in that exact Scar cadence.
God, just to die 4 seconds later. Oh man. See, this is why we should be assassins. Because if nothing else, we're here for the drama.
Child, if I've already said that when I die, I plan on being like the treasure. Like once I feel myself dying, I'm gonna start saying something insane. I'll be like, oh, the money in the safe. Beep beep beep.
Oh my god, something messy. Like just tell him I've always loved him, but then don't say who. Especially if you're married at that point. Can you imagine the level of drama?
No, what I would do
That
is I would say a random sentence in Spanish that was like incomprehensible, and then I'd be like, "Mi amor, I've always loved you," and then a random name.
Oh, you can't say a random name though. You gotta leave these people guessing. Like they're gonna be looking through your entire past life of like, oh my god, how many people does she know?
I'd pick a name of a person I've never met before.
God, that's
Like
amazing.
this is something that I'd work out before I was dying. Like you know how they've got that song Fernando.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah.
Wait, you know Citizen Kane? I'm obsessed with Citizen Kane. I don't even enjoy the movie. I just think it's hilarious because this guy dies and like his last words become like worthy of intrigue because this guy has no life. He kind of sucks. And his last words are Rosebud. And this man is like investigating his past and like trying to see what happens, like, or what connection the word Rosebud has. And it's like a freaking sled.
That's amazing.
That would be me.
I love that.
Anyway, back on Sleepless because we drifted really far.
We drifted. There you go. So this volume 2 starts with like it's 1 year later. I think it's 1 year, and then Homeboy's still asleep. Things are still going on. Homegirl's
and Poppy's about to get married.
Yes.
And she goes to visit her father and Cyrenac in turn because with all the sleepless who were in they call it the eternal sleep, basically. So once you drift far enough, eventually your body just gives out and they put a sheet over your face and you basically just sleep until you die.
To be honest, though, that sounds kind of like the way to go. Just sleep
Not for
until
me.
you die. I don't want to die in any way painfully. I'm already tired all the time.
I don't want to die painfully, but I told you how I want to die as dramatically as possible.
Same. I want like some weird out-of-pocket shit that you don't expect. But anyways, yeah, Homeboy's still asleep. He's now in a tomb with all the other sleeping people.
And he waked the hell up.
Exactly like that. You know how fucking freaked out
scary
I would be to wake up in a tomb with other
surrounded by dead bodies?
People? Yeah, no. Don't sign me up for that.
And he looks, when I tell you he looks good, because like the whole first volume, it's like he looked gross. He looked like he was 10 seconds away from dying because he hadn't slept in the equivalent of 1 calendar year. Like all of the nights that he would have slept.
Yeah, the bitch was tired. And then he finally slept for a year now. So, if you don't come out of that looking good, then what are you even doing with all that sleep?
And like, first of all, he and Poppy, they acknowledge that they're in love with each other at this point. And she's like, they're feeding him. He's eating ridiculous amounts of food, but he could barely hold the sword because his muscles he's been asleep for a year. And this
atrophied a little bit.
And these are medieval times. So these people don't have good common sense. They're not expecting him to ever wake up again. So they don't think to stretch out his legs and his arms and stuff. So.
Circulate the blood a little bit. So they've just been sitting there.
He wake up, everything's numb. Numb as hell.
Numb as hell. Bitch, me the other day waking up with my arm. Can you imagine a year of that?
I'll do you one better. I woke up with my hand around my ankle 2 days ago. Like my ankle
that makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense because my ankle was like under my not my ankle, my heel, the heel of my foot was under my butt and I was holding on to my ankle. Like I felt insane and I woke up and I was like, what was I dreaming about to be in this
Imagine
position?
a year later of sleeping and you wake up like that.
You know how mad I would be? Or like sometimes, you know how sometimes when you sleep and you're having a really good dream and you like pull your butt down and you like your knees are up and you're like,
Oh
like
my god. And
I
nobody could
think
have
I get
moved you?
enough. Let me TMI for a second. Like I feel like when I fart in my sleep, like when my body's getting ready to fart, like that's the position I always wake up in.
Oh my god, probably because you do be farting in your sleep.
I know I have to because I almost never fart during the day, but like I feel like I'm probably like save it all until go to sleep.
Oh god, that's hilarious.
And actually I know I do because sometimes I'll wake up flip the other way. So like I'll be like propped up on one arm, like just booty up in the air. And I'm like, I know this is the best farting position. So that's
You knew you were blasting off all night.
Team Rocket's
Fucking
blasting off again.
oh yeah, that's what I was about to say. You beat me to it. um
Yeah. Oh, anyway,
so anyways,
so they want Poppy to marry Helder, right? And so Helder's like all smug and he's like, no, I get why you would think that I was gonna murder you because I was, but like now I'm not because
that's the
now we're
night that they got
married.
married.
Yeah,
Yes, they go to
he's
consummate it, and
and
he's
she's
like,
like and she's like, girl, boy, we ain't doing nothing. First of all, you bound yourself to me, and I'm gonna spend every single day of my life making you miserable.
period, queen. Because how do you go to consummate your marriage and then you're like, oh, by the way, I
Oh
had
yeah, I
tried to
was
kill
trying to
you.
kill you,
Sorry about that. It was a year
but
ago,
now
though. Are
I'm
you
not.
still mad? Like,
And just the fact that he was like, I was gonna marry whatever her name is. It wasn't Yvette because that was one of the guards' names, I'm pretty sure. But he's like, yeah,
I don't remember.
I was gonna marry old Pimply over there.
Oh,
It's okay.
pimply.
It's okay. I have bad skin too, so I can say that. It's like bad skin privilege. He's like, yeah, I was gonna marry her, but obviously, her uncle, my her dad, didn't want us to get married because we're cousins.
And now we in this
Um,
together. Hey,
eh,
like, first of all, sir, don't talk to me like that. I don't want any
die.
part of that.
Oh, first of all, die. I hope you die in the next couple pages. And guess what he did? So tell me why
Guess
he
what he
tries to
did?
kill Poppy and like he grabs his sword and is like on a mad dash through the castle. And then he ends up she sees Cyrenik across the freaking because she's running for her life and she sees him across the courtyard, like in a different part of the castle. She's like, Cyrenik, help me. And he's looking at her and then she just keeps running and he's like obviously he does catch up to her but she thought the look on her face when she thought he wasn't going to come and save her but he was thinking I can't come save this bitch my muscle.
Yeah. The thing is, though, how are you going to be mad that I'm mad that you tried to kill me? How did we get to this point, sir?
I don't understand.
I
Doesn't
feel
make
like
sense.
this is a reasonable reaction to you trying to murder me
The
four
thing that's
times.
crazy is that like men who are abusive to women, they really do be putting that crazy shit in their victims' minds. They're like, oh, why would you make me do this? And I'm like, nobody's making you.
Yeah,
You're
but
crazy.
this guy doesn't even like her, though. So, like, why, sir, get out of here. Which is why you deserve what happens next. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
And then also, like, tell me why Cyrano gets accused of murder because somebody pushes him like off the banister. And I'm like, any sleepless night could have told you that doesn't make sense because Cyrenik,
Barely move.
he can barely lift an empanada.
Homeboy can barely move. He's sitting there half, not necessarily dead, because for once he's not being dead, but he's sitting there like
Child,
barely alive.
his legs, his arms, they don't work.
Yeah, what do you mean I pushed you off a balcony? Because
How?
how, right? And they try to blame it on Poppy and Cyrenik, like how? First of all, Poppy doesn't even want to be near this man. Cyrenik can't even move.
First of all, and Cyrenik do not want to be near Poppy. He's mad at her because when she released him from his vow, he could have slept until death. Like there was no guarantee that he was gonna wake up. He's angry. Like he's
Reasonably.
mad at her. Yeah, exactly, as one should be, honestly. But and you know who else is mad the other sleepless nights? Because they're like, hold on, like I can sleep, and then other people were like, I don't want to pronounce my vow. Like my kids will be grown.
it opens kind of like a floodgate of like, okay, if we can do this and all of us could do this, but do we want to do this?
First of
Like,
all, my thing is who would think of that in the first place and not like when you're trying things, why wouldn't you check to see if it was reversible?
you know what? That is a fair point. I didn't even think about that. So yeah, it kind of means like they did this thinking that it was going to be forever, and it kind of is what it is. Sorry, your life is going to suck for the rest of your life.
My thing is, I would do like, and they were talking about, basically Poppy and Cyrenik end up on a mad dash journey. They figure out that the real killer was just some guy who was like tertiarily related to the plot, but he was there the whole time. Blah, blah, blah.
He was
The
like a
king is
part of the
like,
kingdom, and then he kind of got wiped out of the like lineage, and it is what it is. This guy had nothing to do. He just was an asshole.
and it was funny though, is that it didn't even come out of nowhere. As soon as he said what his motivation was, I was like, oh, that does make sense. And he was there the whole time stirring up the pot. So I was like, ah.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, right though, it was kind of like a third party that, but I mean, it did make sense. Whenever he
But
tells like
he
his
was
reason
there the
for
whole
it,
time.
it makes sense.
And
But
what's funny is like he outlined his reasons earlier in the story, and like Poppy also agreed with some of his reasons. Like the things that he said were backed up in the story, and the fact that either way, they start at the end when they're getting ready to leave the castle. And when they actually do leave, the Sleepless are like, Cyrenik, we could really use you. You know, if you want to come back. We were coming up with an idea for a rotation, so many days on or so many months on, so many months off. First of all, fuck y'all. If I'm going to be a sleepless night, we're only doing this for a week because you need like 8 hours of sleep, right? So what's 8 times 7?
girl, I don't know, 40 something. I don't know.
It's not, because 7 times 7 is 49. So
50 something. I don't
50,
know.
2, 3,
I'm a law student, girl. I
56.
don't know.
I think that's like 56. So it's probably wrong. But I really do think it's 56. So then you sleep for 56 hours. Like you're up for 7, you're you're up for 7 days. Then you sleep for like,
Two
I
and a
think is
half.
that 3? Yeah, up for 7, sleep for 3. You know what I'm saying? That's reasonable.
I wouldn't even
Like
want that. Like, don't keep me up that late. I don't want to be awake
I
for
think
7 days.
I think it's reasonable, like, because if you have people who are, it's a good way to do a good, like shift. You know what I'm saying? You stagger people that you have on and off, and clearly being a sleepless night is like a great honor. So there are people who are excited to do this.
Could never be me. I'm just,
Child, it would not be me because
like,
the king
I don't want to
asked
be
if
awake that
Cyrenik
late.
would be Poppy's night, and no, I've been awake for 7 days before. I'd rather die than do that again.
Well, at least they have magic on their side. If we're awake for 7 days, we will probably die
I'll need
because
cocaine on my side.
it. Shit. And I don't know, but see things like that, like how Homeboy was there the whole time, and that was his motivation. He's the one that was trying to kill her and whatever. That really goes to show how well established this story was, because there was so much work that went into this, and you could tell by reading this. And
And then
it's
the art, like even the people of all the different cultures, they all had a different look. And like I don't remember what the name of the kingdom that they're in is called, but
I don't remember. Yeah,
and or the one that the blonde princess girl, like all her people were from, like her mom is from that country. Her mom never talks. Also, I'm like, that was a bit unfeminist of y'all, but whatever. So they're like very Scandinavian-y in that culture, and then like in this kingdom, it's like, I don't know, the people in King's Landing, that's how they dressed. But not as like bullshitty, because it was like it was giving what it was supposed to have gave. But then Poppy's mom is from Mirabesh, who's like a neighboring country where all the black people are, and they have such a distinctly different style of dress. Like she shows
Mhm.
up to meet the ship that she thinks her mom is coming on, and she's wearing like a Mirabeshi dress. And I was like, oh, she looks so pretty. It's so distinctly different. So it's like it's giving. The world building is giving, and I liked it.
Yeah, world building. That's exactly what I meant. Because they everything is so established. It's like I don't know how they did this so well in such a short time. Because there's
Yeah,
clearly story that happened before the story, and this clearly is going to lead on to more story. If they write it or not, that is whatever. But like, it's clearly
it could
there.
continue, but
This
this
is
is
its
like
own
a good
universe.
wrap up point for Cernic and Poppy. Like they end the way that they always wanted to. It's like how in the Witcher series they were like, oh, we could go to the coast, and I was like, y'all ain't going to no coast. They actually went to the coast though.
They literally didn't. They went to some countryside or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she owned all this land and she was like, yeah, I can't wait to go out to my lands. And I was like, her land's probably not going to be that impressive. And they actually were. I was like, dang. The art was the unsung hero of it. No, honestly, I would say like the lettering actually is the unsung hero because the letters are so good.
The letters. Yeah, I didn't think about the lettering, but you're right. The art, I personally, I wasn't a fan of the art style, but I do like how well thought out everything is. And I will easily say that it's extremely impressive. It just wasn't
What
kind of my
I
cup of
love all
tea.
the patterns. Like they put in work on the patterns and on the dresses. Like
Mhm.
everything has its place. It's very nice. The writing, it accomplished what it set out to do. And a lot of people don't get there, you know. So I was proud of them.
Yeah, even the coloring in this, it was really giving medieval times because the coloring was so, I don't even know how you describe it. Is that like
It's
light
giving
and
Renaissance. I know what you mean. It's kind of
Renaissance?
got
Yeah,
that like muted oil painting feel.
that's a good way to say it. Yeah. So I really liked it. The story was very, very well put together and definitely worth a read if you're into medieval things, but very, very good.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
I guess that's all for this week's episode of True Believers.
Yeah. So thank you all for your support and we will see you next week.
When we I think we said we were going to do the DC Pride from last year because it was cute.
Yes, DC Pride. I like that. So next week we'll be doing DC Pride.
And while we have you here, we'd like to say a special thank you to Donnie Kemp, who supports us on every social media platform that we have. Thank you so much, Donnie. We really appreciate your support.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
are an OG true believer, and thank you. We are available on all major streaming platforms. And if you really like the show, please leave us a review and continue sharing us with your friends. We really appreciate it. It helps
Continue
us a lot.
sharing
And
us.
yep, and maybe when that tyrant Andrew is lenient and lets me have a day off from reading comic books and watching movies, we'll read some of our reviews on air. Probably not, but maybe. And as always, if you want to leave a suggestion on what we read or watch, you can find and DM us on social media. You can email us, leave us a voicemail at 7. No, you can leave us a voicemail at 650-761-2629 or join the Discord that we never check.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.